It's undeniable that indecision over energy policy is costing us. And as I've told you many times, sadly, it will get worse. Put simply, this is just taking money away from struggling families. It's all very well climbing on your ideological horse to close coal-fired power stations. But for now and for tomorrow and for next year, let me tell you a certainty. Up to 80% of our energy will come from fossil fuels. One correspondent has written today that uncertainty stifles investment and drives up power prices. Well, to use a simple analogy, why would you quit one job which pays well if you don't have another to go to? Why would you sell one home when you don't have a replacement home? Why do you take a footballer off the field and replace him with someone who was picked as a reserve for a real reason? He wasn't as good as the bloke on the paddock. But here we are closing coal-fired power stations in the forlorn belief that renewables are going to power the nation. That is the ultimate delusion, and we are paying for it now and we'll pay for it down the track. In other words, why would you close off fossil fuel production when you don't have the resources to replace them? I repeat, Bowen, I've said over and over again, is the most dangerous, ignorant and arrogant politician this country's seen since World War II. The latest is the demonisation of any mention of nuclear energy. You will recall in Peter Dutton's budget reply speech, he made the none too startling suggestion that Australia could consider nuclear power. Yet again, many in the media, with either no memory or little regard for history, should have been able to argue that the Dutton suggestion was hardly novel. I've referred many times to a speech by the late Prime Minister Bob Hawke in September 2005, nearly 18 years ago, when he called on the ALP to abandon its policy on uranium and, importantly, quote, to promote Australia as a repository for nuclear waste, unquote. Mr Hawke said, Australia has the geologically safest places in the world for the storage of waste, unquote. He said in 2005, what Australia should do, in my judgment, as an act of economic sanity and environmental responsibility, is to say, we will take the world's nuclear waste, unquote. Here we are swimming in debt. Mr Hawke argued, as I in fact had argued, that we could pay off that debt. Mr Hawke said we could revolutionise the economies of Australia if we did this. That was 2005. The late Mr Hawke returned to the subject on February 9, 2015, when he backed citing a nuclear waste dump in South Australia. Ironically, he said, the Labor Party has shown that it has a degree of flexibility in the nuclear debate, particularly with the export of uranium. He said in 2015, global warming is a very real threat. Incidentally, at the time, I remember arguing on air with him about that, but put that aside. Mr Hawke said in 2015, nuclear power generation is an important part of dealing with that challenge, that's global warming, with storage. If we could make it safer for the world, it would be a win-win situation, unquote. Now, I wonder whether Mr Hawke was thinking of Chris Bowen when he said in 2015, ignorance is the enemy of good policy. This, of course, brings us to this policy charlatan, Chris Bowen. A charlatan, by the way, is a person who falsely claims to have a special knowledge. Bowen more than once has called nuclear energy a complete joke, that, quote, nuclear is the most expensive form of energy. We have a cost of living crisis. Energy prices are going through the roof, and that is the big, bright idea. Let's have the most expensive form of energy we can possibly think of, unquote. What did Mr Hawke say? Ignorance is the enemy of good policy. Remember, Bowen is the bloke who buried Bill Shorten in the 2019 election with a punitive and divisive tax policy and then said, if you don't like it, don't vote for us. Now, you've heard me say on good energy policy that it can be responsibly described in one sentence. It must be available, reliable and affordable. Nuclear energy is available 24 hours a day and virtually emissions-free. We have at least a third of the world's uranium, but nuclear power has been banned in this country since 1986. The technology is now so advanced that these small modular reactors, or SMRs, can be placed in remote areas, unlike old reactors that needed to be near large water catchments. The new SMRs can be buried to withstand any physical or natural disaster. They can be mass-produced in an off-site factory, shipped to locations and then assembled. And they need only 5% of the nuclear fuel that is needed to power large conventional reactors. Every year, we export more than 400 shipping containers of uranium, enough to generate all of our own electricity with zero emissions. But instead of producing electricity at home, Australian uranium is used to produce vast amounts of clean energy. Are you ready? Our uranium, clean energy? Here we go. In America, South Korea, China, Canada, Mexico, Argentina, Brazil, Belgium, Finland, Spain, Sweden, the Netherlands, the UK, Armenia, Belarus, Bulgaria, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Romania, Russia, Slovakia, Slovenia, Ukraine, Turkey, Bangladesh, India, Japan, Pakistan, South Africa, Iran, the United Arab Emirates. But Australia, that's our uranium, is burdened with an energy ignoramus and an ideological misfit in this fellow Chris Bowen. After the Dutton comments, Bowen attacked Peter Dutton, posted a video on social media that controversially included images of yellow barrels, and no doubt someone in the Albanese government told him to take the damn thing down. This man Bowen is an albatross around the neck of our energy future.